Let's test some fragrances from the niche house Zoologist. I have some samples here and 2 turned into full bottles in my collection. Hello guys, welcome back. I'm Eloise. I hope everyone is doing great. So in today's video, I thought that I would test and talk about some Zoologist fragrances that I have samples of. I've accumulated 2 packets here. I think there are about 7 samples. And I own 2 full bottles that I'll talk about at the end that I recently added to my collection that I absolutely love. So I have them divided in 2 packets here. One packet has the ones that I don't think would work for me, although you never know. And in the other packet are the ones that I like. And at the end, I'll talk about the 2 full bottles. It was actually 4 bottles that I added over the last year. And 2 ended up not working out for me. And the 2 that I do have, I absolutely love. So the House of Zoologist is really interesting. It's a niche perfume house founded by Victor Wong in 2013. And they're out of Toronto, Canada. And the theme revolves around animals. And the fragrances are inspired by different animals. Each one focuses on an animal and is inspired by the habitat of the animal, the behavior of the animal, the similarities and the differences between the animal and humans. So the house is really interesting to me. And you can see even on the samples, there are these beautiful black and white illustrations. The illustrations almost look like Victorian artwork. If you've ever seen those paintings with dogs or animals dressed in soldier uniforms. So I think the house is really quite interesting and unique, and the fragrances are unique as well. So let's start with the first one, Sloth. And the little cards here, they give you a little explanation of the animal's habitat, and then the notes are on the right. So the samples themselves are actually quite impressive. And so for this one, we're in the dense rainforest, and I won't read the blurb inside of each card or the video will be way too long. So this one opens up really herbaceous. There's chamomile, violet leaf, lavender, and berry at the top. There are some floral notes at the heart. And then there are some interesting notes in the base, like hay and frankincense and myrrh, tonka. There's mushroom, oak moss, and vanilla. So what I did not like about this, and I've tried these on skin, by the way, before today, so this is not a first impression. What I did not like about this, I think, is that chamomile note. I'm a big tea lover and drinker, but one thing that I hate is chamomile, and I think it's the smell of the chamomile that bothers me. I do get some of those resinous and balsamic touches in here, but even after it dries down, I have this impression that I'm smelling either the chamomile or the chamomile together with something else. And I'm not sure if that's what it is about this one, but even as this one dries down, I remember thinking that there's something too herbaceous, and I felt like the chamomile note was taking over the fragrance that comes off almost medicinal to my nose. So I did not enjoy this one too much. This is Sloth. So the next one is Panda. Look how cute this guy is. So I think there are 2 versions of Panda, and this sample is the 2017 version. So this might be a later version than the original. And it says here that an encounter with a lovable panda is as unforgettable as the exotic forest it calls home. So this perfume, or this fragrance, is inspired by the panda in its habitat, which is the forest. So this one is interesting. It opens up with this bright apple that's so tart. I know there are citrus notes and there's magnolia as well, and I think a tea note at the top. But what I did not like is that right after this really interesting tart, citrusy, floral, bright opening that's so yummy, something almost aquatic comes through. But at the same time, you have these really nice florals that peek through. I do get some jasmine that comes through. So even though I get some pretty florals that come through, there's something almost medicinal and aquatic to my nose that I can't quite put my finger on. And it smells almost a little too sharp. So I wasn't a fan of Panda, and I put it in the packet of the ones that I don't think would be full bottle for me. So this is 2017 Panda. So the next one is Cockatiel. I just love the illustration on this one. So cute. So it says here that Australian spring arrives, bearing dazzling frocks of yellow blossoms to dress the bare golden wattle trees. So let's see what Cockatiel smells like. Yes, this one I had on skin. I now remember what this smells like, and this one is an absolute no for me. So this one I consider super animalic, and when I say animalic, I feel like I've walked into a bird cage. This is just not something that I would want to smell like. I detect something super smoky, although at the top there's champagne, there's raspberry, and there's rhubarb. But there's something smoky, like a burning tire smell to my nose. And I can't put my finger on it. So I know there's gaiac and patchouli and musk in the base, along with, oh, there's vanilla. And then there's a powdery note. So there is something powdery and there is something a little sweet. And even though I get these pretty notes in the background, I can't get past this burning rubber tire smell. And I'm not sure where it's coming from. So I don't think that Cockatiel would be one that would work for me. So let's open the packet of the ones that I did like. Starting with Hummingbird, which is not an official sample. I think I got this when I purchased something from ZGO Perfumery. So this one I really like. This is a floral fragrance that has touches of honey. There are a lot of notes in here, including cherry. I think there's pear. I think there's plum. I think there's rose, mimosa. Fragrantica lists all these notes. I haven't compared it to the official website, but I think this is absolutely beautiful. It's creamy. I think there's ylang-ylang in here. Really nice floral and slightly fruity with this honey. I definitely detect the honey in here, but it's not too sweet. It's got a nice syrupy consistency. Together with these intoxicating floral notes, I like this one a lot. I want to look at the floral notes that are listed on Fragrantica. Lilac, violet leaf, rose, lily of the valley, honeysuckle, mimosa, peony, tulip, and there's moss at the base with white woods, sandalwood, musk. I think the florals come off really nice in this one. I think it's this perfect balance with the fruity notes and the honey that kind of gives this syrupy consistency. I like this one a lot. I want to keep testing this to see if this turns into a full bottle. This one is nice. Hummingbird. So the next one is Beaver, and this is the maple edition. I like the way this guy looks in his old-fashioned soldier uniform. Really cute. So it says here in the official booklet that the sun-drenched spring air infuses the tangle of timbers that beavers call home, inviting the family to venture from their cozy den. So I remember liking this one. Let's spray so I can remind myself what this smells like. This is really nice. I get nice florals in here, but it's really warm because I'm getting this syrupy maple that's not too sugary. I like the way the consistency is coming off to my nose. It's almost a little nutty with these beautiful floral notes peeking through. Let me see what the notes are here. Blue water lily, neroli, and carrot. So there's neroli in here. Maple accord, vetiver oil, Peru balsam oil, 2 types of cedar wood. And then in the base there's some vanilla bean, cacao, patchouli, sandalwood, castoreum. This is really nice and warm, and actually it does transport you to the forest with trees and wood and maple and something almost a little nutty. And there's this feeling of a consistency that's nice and syrupy without being too sweet. So I've smelled similar fragrances like Bond Number 9's. Is it New Harlem that comes off like a pancake breakfast maple syrupy kind of fragrance? That one I did not like. It was way too sweet or way too rich and way too masculine in my opinion. This one is more refined. This is blended really, really nicely. I like this a lot, and I don't think it comes off like an edible maple syrup. I like that it's not too sweet. I like that there's a nice contrast between these woody notes with this neroli that I think peeks through, that even though it's not predominant, I feel like it plays its role here. This one is nice. I like this one. So this is Beaver Maple Edition. And the next one is Rabbit. So cute. Another really cute illustration. Very cute. So Rabbit I liked as well. So interesting, so unique. I've never smelled anything like this. It's amazing how they make these fragrances that tell a story. It really is art. It's art in a bottle, basically. And this one, whether I would get a full bottle and wear this or not, is so artistic to me. This is so yummy, and I think I read or I've heard that this is described as like a carrot cake, but I remember smelling this a couple of times on skin and thinking a compliment to this fragrance actually is that I would not describe this as a gourmand, edible, straight up gourmand fragrance. I think there's more to it than that. I feel like a lot of these things that we interpret, obviously it comes from association. So we smell the notes and there's obviously not a carrot cake note in the fragrance. And then we make our own personal associations and we come up with what we think it smells like, right? So if we've never smelled carrot cake, this can't smell like carrot cake to us. So the reason that I wouldn't describe this as a straight up gourmand is because when you really smell this closely, you realize the complexity that this fragrance has. So I get these floral notes that come through that are blended with these spices and these fruity and also vegetal notes in here that has some sweetness, but the sweetness is not a sugary vanilla sweetness to my nose. I feel like it's a sweetness that's a little spiced. So while I can picture a carrot muffin with cinnamon sprinkled on top, I do get that. I feel like the fragrance is more than that because I get these beautiful floral notes that I feel like are spiced and contrasted with all these other notes in here. So there's green vegetable leaves accord with cinnamon, bergamot, and apple. Then at the heart there's this clover flower accord, there's carrot, jasmine absolute, and violet. And then there's patchouli, there are musks, hay, a white almond accord, vanilla, and a biscuit accord. I really do think that this is very, very pretty. It's very complex. It smells like a soft floral fragrance that comes off fluffy and a little bit nutty from this almond and a little bit sweet and a little bit gourmand, but not over the top gourmand and not over the top sugary sweet, like a nice fluffy cozy sweetness that does bring to mind a muffin. And I do get that carrot. So the muffin would be a carrot cake muffin for sure, with some nuttiness and sprinkled with cinnamon. So I would say that this is a soft, delicate fragrance that's maybe a little bit edible, but not over the top. So I would be on the fence about this one. I really like how it smells. I'm just not sure that I would want to have this on me as a fragrance, but I really love how this smells. Very nice. So this is Rabbit. And this brings us to the last two, and I own full bottles of these. I just purchased a bottle of Moth, which is a really great honey fragrance. So I owned a bottle of Bee because I like the idea of honey and fragrance, but that one was just too much for me. It was a very intoxicating, heavy, gourmand, like a floral honey fragrance that was just too strong. And I felt like it was a little off-putting and I just could not connect with that fragrance. So I did sell that one and I purchased Moth instead, and I really like this. So this I would describe as a floral honey fragrance, but there's something dark about it. The honey is definitely prominent, and it's more prominent in the opening, and it sort of subsides as the fragrance dries down, but you have to like a prominent honey note in a fragrance to enjoy this. But there's something dark and syrupy about it because it also comes along with florals as well as spices. So the fragrance doesn't come off like this sugary, bright honey. To me, it comes off like a darker honey with these spices, almost like a licorice. And then you have these floral notes. And as it dries down, like I said, that prominent honey starts to subside. And in the deep dry down, what you're left with is this dusty floral fragrance. It's a little bit powdery with this backdrop of honey that's not as powerful as it is in the opening and in the mid of this fragrance. It all sort of gets dusty in the dry down, but I can still get the honey in the dry down as well, but it's over this dusty floral fragrance that's really, really pretty. It kind of reminds me, not that it smells like, but reminds me of that licorice, that dark anise in Amouage's memoir, Woman. There's something about this that reminds me of that. Maybe it's the way the honey comes off here. Not that there's honey in Memoir Woman, there's not. But maybe the honey along with the spices here remind me of the darkness, that syrupy darkness that I get in Memoir Woman. Almost like an anise that's kind of black licorice-like. So I have the box here, this great illustration. I love this. And the notes are listed on the back. And the nose behind this one and the other fragrance that I have a full bottle of is Tomoe Naba. And I think he does really, really great work. So it really is a beautiful fragrance that features honey in the way that I like. And it combines the honey with the florals for this very rich, dark honey fragrance that's very unique, and I really enjoy this. I will review this in a separate video. And last but not least is Nightingale. And I will review this one in a dedicated video as well, because look at the illustration, look at the pink juice. This is great. This is beautiful. It's a beautiful chypre fragrance. One of my favorite chypre fragrances, and I own quite a few. I'm on a little bit of a chypre fragrance streak lately, and I will make a video on chypre fragrances. This one is absolutely stunning. The nose behind this is also Tomoe Naba. It's gorgeous. I love the illustration on this box too. The inspiration behind this one is Japanese spring. So the bird has a kimono. It's so cute. So this one has the typical chypre breakdown where at the top you have the citrus bergamot, and then here there's floral in the mid. And I get this dusty rose with the citrus and the moss. I get this really beautiful moss, green, mossy aspect to the fragrance with these beautiful floral notes, and it comes off like a dusty rose, even though there's Japanese plum blossom in here as well. This one I like a lot. I think this is a really beautiful chypre. And I love their bottles. They're made of a really heavy glass. And the cap and the illustration and the way the sticker is on the front and even the shape of the bottle, I feel like it reminds me of what I would imagine like old-fashioned perfume bottles that are masculine. There's something very masculine about the bottles, in my opinion, but the shape is really nice and they're pretty heavy and they seem well made. And they look nice in my collection as well. And I almost didn't mention that I owned Camel as well. At the same time that I owned Bee, I had Camel, a really, really pretty scent profile, an oriental fragrance with dried fruits and myrrh, ambery, balsamic. Very nice, but it did not last on my skin whatsoever. I sprayed it and I wasn't really able to enjoy it, so I wasn't reaching for it, and I ended up selling it to someone who really wanted it. So someone maybe who's enjoying it more than I was. But I'm really loving Nightingale and Moth. I enjoy them. I'm going to continue testing Hummingbird because I think it's a beautiful floral fragrance, and I'm really impressed by this house's creations. They're all so interesting, and I love this theme about the animals and their habitat, and the illustrations are just really, really nice as well. So if there are any other zoologist fragrances that you think I should get my nose on, please feel free to leave those suggestions in the comments. As always, I appreciate your comments. Thank you for watching. Until next time. Bye, guys.